2 actually for commentary off that Brighton Aston Villa game. BBC Sound, scroll along and you will find it. Actually, I think, shall we go and get an update from Brighton? I think we were going to go there. Let's go and hear what's happening with John Southall.
Why not? Brighton 2, Aston Villa 0. Villa all over the place at the moment. Tao Torres gave the ball away. Ruta 20-yarder, tipped over the bar from the corner. Viskovic couldn't quite put it in at the back post. Brighton 2, Villa 0.
2-0 there. Goal is here at the Etihad. 21 and a half minutes gone. Manchester City have come closest to the breakthrough. Erling Haaland missing an opportunity that you would generally feel pretty comfortable putting a fair bit of cash on that he would stick in the back of the net, but it didn't fall for him so far. Still looking for his first Premier League goal of the season. Has scored so many Premier League goals. He's actually making his 200th appearance for Manchester City today. 162 goals amongst those appearances. 27 in the Premier League last season. As come on City is the shout from the crowd, but it's Bournemouth who find a little opening in behind. Kluivert looking for the cut back to Scott, but it's stopped on the edge of the area by Anderson, who uses good strength to shield it away from the Bournemouth midfielder and keep possession for City. And again, that was a little glimpse at where Bournemouth could get their opportunities in behind.
I think Ryan down that right-hand side has been an outlet of joy for Bournemouth, the way that they get in behind. Guardiola at times, he tries to join in and be that extra man in midfield, that hybrid fullback, and number of occasions now, 2 or 3 times on the turnover of possession quickly of Bournemouth moved the ball, and Ryan's the one that's got in behind the space that Guardiola's left in behind him.
City with the ball at the back, and that fluid formation that Paul was talking about in evidence again, as Gahey is almost in a back 3 at the moment, and Rico Lewis given licence to go so high up the field, but that one is broken down, so he scampers back into what is now a back 4 as Bournemouth have possession, but it's given away to Gvardiol on the halfway line. Finds Kusanov just inside the centre circle, and to Anderson, who's had a lot more of the ball than we saw in that Community Shield match against Arsenal this afternoon. Anderson. Gahey though picks it up, drives forward and moves over to the left-hand side where Semenyo again will face up Smith, and he gets past him again, but the ball goes out the back. And is it a goal kick or is it a corner kick? There's been no decision. Oh, it's a free kick. It's none of the former two, it's a free kick, and it's a free kick to Bournemouth.
They've got the beating of the right-hand, Bournemouth right-hand side of Manchester City. The pace that Semenyo has got initially there, Mark Gahey does really well. He wins the ball in the centre of midfield, and he doesn't look to do anything special with it. He's a win the ball and give it to somebody who's going to do something with it. That's exactly what he does. Plays it out to Semenyo, and with Ryan there, he doubles up with Adam Smith, but Adam Smith is not the quickest, and against Semenyo just runs round him, and there's nobody there doubling up on him. Semenyo gets into the 18-yard box and is adjudged to have fouled Truffert on his way in. It's a tough decision.
I'm very confused about what just happened there. There wasn't really any indication given by the linesman down in front of us or the referee for a little while as to what that was. It then looked like the Petrovic took a goal kick, but it was definitely not a goal kick. It was a corner kick, if anything, but it looked like he pointed for a free kick. The
referee gave a free kick, the goalkeeper took a goal kick, and the linesman just carried on as though nothing had happened.
It's only match day 1. Bournemouth playing out with Scott into the midfield and to Cook, who finds Smith, and Smith goes long looking for the run of Evan Nielsen, who's shoulder barged by Kusanov, but it's picked up by Ryan. Now Evan Nielsen, opportunity for Tavernier at the back post, and Bournemouth have taken a shock lead at the Etihad. It is their first real movement forward, their first opportunity, and Tavernier all on his own at the back stick with an easy finish beyond Donnarumma. It was beautifully worked by Bournemouth on the counter-attack, and it is Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 1.
And that's it, that's a counter-attack. Marco Rosa stands beneath us, clapping his hands together. The game plan's worked. Tavernier at the far post taps it into an empty net almost, past Donnarumma into the bottom right-hand corner. It's down that right-hand side again. It's a long ball over the top. and it's Evan Nielsen that initially goes to challenge Kusanov for the ball, and Kusanov doesn't go for the header, he just bumps Evan Nielsen out the way. But it ends up being beneficial to Evan Nielsen because it knocks him into the right hand side and the right wing position. The ball comes to Ray and he plays it to Evan Nielsen, who's in acres of space, and he plays a lovely ball across the 18-yard box. Tavernier arriving at the far post, no question of offside whatsoever. Left foot thumps it past Donnarumma into the bottom right-hand corner, and the game plan for Bournemouth has worked.
It is brilliant interplay between the front three. So we have our opening goal here at the Etihad. It's gone the way of Bournemouth, but there has been yet another goal for John Southall.
This place absolutely bouncing. Brighton 3, Aston Villa 0. It's a horror show for Villa this. Jack Hinchelwood, unmarked 4 yards out, has just nodded in. Brighton 3, Villa 0.
Quite a story at the Amex. Quite a story here at the Etihad. 26 minutes gone. Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 1. Marco Rosa has his team off the mark, but Semenyo going down that right-hand side trying to create something. He's well marshalled by Kluivert, but he wins the ball back right on the touchline, goes again towards the byline, just overruns it, and there are shouts for a penalty. Nothing given by the referee, Jared Gillett, at the moment, but you wouldn't believe it, there's been another goal at Brighton, John Southall.
Unbelievable on the south coast. Brighton 4, Aston Villa 0. Villa gave the ball away, and Hinchelwood has just helped himself to his second goal in a couple of minutes. The Villa fans cannot believe it. They are checking it, but it's Brighton 4, Aston Villa 0, 31 minutes played.
Incredible stuff. And Manchester City, we've just had a little look, Paul, at that penalty claim. Semenyo, the Manchester City fans and certainly some of the players thought that he was pulled just as he entered the edge of the penalty area. Anything in it for you?
Didn't take a lot for him to go down, did it? And my opinion is if your arm's locked and you pull back, you don't dive forwards. And I think that's probably what the referee saw in the end with Semenyo. He's definitely got the beating of Adam Smith a number of times in this first half now. He's been in and around, he gets past the fullback at will, got inside the 18-yard box, and it really didn't take a lot for him to go down. But if your arm's pulled backwards, you don't dive forwards, and I think that's what the referee's taken.
Nothing given, VAR agreed, and Manchester City still trail by a goal to nil, and it's getting lively inside the stadium here. Manchester City fans trying to get behind their team, but Bournemouth have their tails up as well. Yeah,
they don't like it, Manchester City. They've been ruffled. They've gone 1-0 down. Things haven't gone their own way. Bournemouth are putting 1 or 2 challenges in, and from a Bournemouth point of view, why not? You know, you've got to find a way to beat a team that is better than you, for want of a better phrase. You know, you find a way. You don't play into their hands. You don't think, oh, we won't kick them, we won't go into challenges. You do things that they don't like. You upset the rhythm, you upset the game. You get the crowd on the back, you get the crowd, you know, not supporting them. And the way that Bournemouth will approach it now is they've got something to hang on to.
Diaz, ball over the top for O'Reilly. First time cross into the area, but it's headed clear by Trufer. There weren't many Manchester City shirts to aim at in there, but it is now Kluivert who's got Lewis and Foden for company, and now Lewis comes away with the ball. Foden inside the area to Gahey, who's had his pocket picked by Scott, and then Scott goes down under the challenge of Anderson, and Bournemouth will win a free kick midway between their own penalty area and the halfway line. And this game is getting a little lively, and actually Ruben Diaz, I didn't mention it before the game, and he is wearing the captain's armband today, and Enzo Maresca said he will appoint the official captain once the transfer window has closed. Does that suggest to you perhaps he's not got his captain yet? It
suggests to me like he doesn't know who's going to be there come the end of the transfer window.
That's also a possibility.
When he's looking around the dressing room thinking, OK, yeah, maybe not. Or we might get him, we might not get him. And I really do think there's so much uncertainty around the squad build of Manchester City. And the manager himself, he's obviously party to the discussions and he knows what types of players that he wants. But I also think the recruitment will go on as well, you know, behind the scenes. They obviously will help the manager, they will see what holes need plugging. But I genuinely do not think that they know who is going to be in that dressing room come the end of the window.
Yeah, it's a big, 10 days or so to the end of the transfer window. It could well be season defining for Manchester City. This won't be a season defining afternoon, but they certainly could do without having a defeat on their opening day in Enzo Maresca's first game of the Premier League season, and that's where they find themselves right now, trailing to Bournemouth. But Foden's got the ball on the right edge of the penalty area, manages to get the cross in, headed clear by Silva, and now Truffert can pick up the loose ball on the left hand side and try and release Tavernier. It's poor though, and Kusanov will pick it up. Foden releasing it back onto the halfway line to Diaz, and again Manchester City will look to come forward. Lewis in that really advanced position again finds Foden, who skips away, cuts inside, looking for an opportunity to get the shot, but it was a really good challenge that came in. I think it was Silva that played it in, and now Ryan is looking to scamper clear, and Gvardiol's had to put in a last-ditch challenge to deny the Brazilian a clear shot at goal, and now he races forward. This game is end-to-end. Gvardiol looked like he was going for the shot, stopped himself on the edge of the area, played it to Anderson. Manchester City still with it in Bournemouth's attacking third. Guéhi out to the left-hand side to Semenyo, who's got the beating of Smith, cuts inside again, but in steps Cook to pick up the ball. Only got one person forward to aim at, and it's Evan Nielsen, and it's Evan Nielsen against Diaz, and Diaz calmly collects the ball and plays it into the feet of Guéhi.
You can see what Bournemouth are trying to do. They're very organised, sit in the shape, and that turnover was so quick there. It was a wonderful ball from Adam Scott in behind Kusanov, who looked like that Evan Nielsen, and Ryan had caught him. Ryan had just got goal side, but he got back Kusanov extremely well.
Brilliant challenge from Scott to deny Lewis getting on the ball, but City win it back, and Lewis does get it in the penalty area. Cross comes across the face of goal, but it's cleared only as far as Foden, edge of the penalty area. Haaland, left foot, blocked and cleared, and now Tavernier in a foot race with Anderson. Tavernier wins it, he scampers down that left hand side, but Kusanov comes across to clear the danger, and this has turned into like a game of basketball almost. It is end to end, it's so open.
It's been played at a really frantic pace. I mean, Manchester City, they won't mind it, but they've got to be careful not to leave themselves too exposed at the back. We've seen the problems that Bournemouth have caused them on the counter-attack. But Manchester City in possession, they're certainly very intent on winning the ball back very quickly. Careless with it at times in and around the edge of the box. I actually like the balance that they've got. They've got Semenyo on the left-hand side and Foden on the right. Foden's a winger that will cut inside and try and play in that number 10 role because he's naturally left-footed on this right-hand side, whereas Semenyo will go round his fullback, which does actually create a lot more space in the middle of the pitch for Manchester City. They do look balanced when they're in possession.
Manchester City with a free kick midway between the halfway line and Bournemouth's penalty area, just taking it short, and Diaz now finds Kusanov, and he's got Foden outside him. That's where the ball goes, and Foden up against Truffert again, but Foden overruns it. Truffert was such a big performer for Bournemouth last season. He's been very strong again, but when you look at the stats in this game, Manchester City might have had all the ball, but it's Bournemouth who have had 2 shots on target. Manchester City's one.
Yeah, they've certainly made the most of what they've had of Bournemouth. Definitely second best in the possession stats, well outclassed in that, and especially territorial advantage as well. But from Marco Rosa's point of view, this will be the game plan that he's come here with today. You know, they're not going to come here and try and play all the game in Manchester City's half. They've got to be sensible, clever, well organised. I mean, we saw the way that Brentford exploited Tottenham yesterday. They did exactly that. They managed their way through the game. A well-structured, well-organised, well-coached team, and that's exactly what we're seeing here with Bournemouth.
Well, he took over a Bournemouth team from Iraola that was all of those things, but Marco Rosa, it is a trademark of his style and how he likes to play, and it was actually interesting hearing that Iraola previously, before he was even at Bournemouth, was a big fan of Marco Rosa and his Mönchengladbach team and how he set him up. So interesting that Marco Rosa has then succeeded Iraola at Bournemouth, but likes an aggressive, high-pressing style, and the way he says it is that everybody's first job is to defend.
Well, you look at it, and his teams generally defend from the front. I mean, RB Leipzig, when he was there between 22 and 25, they were ranked top for direct attacks in the Bundesliga. And you look at the quality of teams in the Bundesliga, RB Leipzig were top for direct attacks. Underneath him, he's won the Austrian Bundesliga twice.
Great ball forward by Semenyo. O'Reilly again crossing towards the back post. Foden unable to just take it down, and he loses the ball momentarily but catches it up and feeds Lewis. Cross now in, but it's too long. Will go all the way through. I think it's taken a touch of a Bournemouth head, so it will be a Manchester City throw-in just near that corner flag. But they're not having the best of joy, Manchester City, from the wide areas. They're getting there, and then the ball in just seems to lack a little bit of quality.
You make a really good point, you know, being hypercritical of them. They're getting into these areas and being hypercritical of Nico O'Reilly. Gets himself in an excellent position. Phil Foden's actually unmarked at the far post, and he overhits it. He puts it over Phil Foden's head. The ball comes out to Rico Lewis. He does exactly the same with Erling Haaland. They're getting in some really good areas, but the final ball into Erling Haaland, into the forward-thinking players in the 18-yard box, is what's letting them down.
Well, it is Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 1, 36 minutes played at the Etihad, but it has been an electric start to the first half at the Amex. Let's get the latest from Brighton Villa, John Southall.
What about this? Doesn't get any better for Villa. They're down to 10 men. Brighton 4, Aston Villa 0. On his debut, João Gomez, retaliation after a challenge on Ruta, then kicked out at him. The referee went to the screen and has shown him the red card. Villa down to 10, and they are 4-0 down at the Amex.
Dramatic afternoon at the Amex. Not quite the same drama here, but it's been enjoyable all the same. Manchester City trying to find a way back into this one before the break. Gvardiol to O'Reilly on that left-hand side, gets it back, the big defender, and feeds his centre-back Diaz and Anderson. And Manchester City have got plenty of bodies in there, but Bournemouth closing off the space, organised, making it difficult for Manchester City to find a way through. And we haven't really spoken about Antonio Silva, but he's looked very assured, the 22-year-old. He was the Benfica captain. He comes with a huge pedigree, but he's been up against the Premier League's main marksman in Erling Haaland, and he's looked very comfortable and composed. Yeah,
he seems to have settled in the pre-season. He's done okay. And he's still only 22 years of age, which is, you know, very, very young for a central defender. 20 caps for Portugal, played 184 games for Benfica. So at this level, it's no surprise for him. And coming up against Erling Haaland, he's handled himself pretty well in the first 38 minutes of this game.
Well, he is the only debutant for Bournemouth in their starting 11, as Petrovic, under pressure, forced to play it out from Manchester City, throwing level with the edge of the penalty area. So Manchester City with an opportunity to try and come forward again, as Gvardiol, with his foot on the ball, just looking for options, plays it down the side to Guéhi, who made a lovely little run, and he's got in behind Scott, but Scott's recovered well, and Guéhi's forced away from goal, but he finds Semenyo, and Gvardiol leaves it to Diaz, and Diaz looks long for Haaland. The head flick on, and the Petrovic diving save to his left-hand side. I think it was a flick on rather than a shot from Haaland, but Petrovic made sure that it went out of danger. It will be, though, a Manchester City corner.
Yeah, it was a deep cross from Diaz. Guéhi does well down the left-hand side, and he plays it back to Diaz, one of the central defenders, who from quite a straight angle, he plays the ball into the 18-yard box. Haaland rises the highest, and all he can do is flick it towards goal. I actually think it was going wide, but the goalkeeper had to make sure.
But the Manchester City corner is headed clear by a Bournemouth head, and now Kluivert flicks it beautifully past Anderson, and he's coming down this left-hand side. He's only got a couple of Bournemouth shots to find, but he found Tavernier, and there's the shot, and that has whistled past Donnarumma's right-hand post. What a beautiful curling effort from Marcus Tavernier. And again, that break from Bournemouth was incredibly well worked.
Well, you can hear the discerning voices in and around us at the crowd here at Manchester City. We're at the back of the stand, surrounded by the Manchester City supporters, only 4 or 5 rows beneath us, and the frustration at how easily their team are getting turned over on the counter-attack. They're dominating possession, they're dominating everything higher up the field, but when the ball is turned over, they're getting cut open far too easily. Kluivert, it was this time on the left-hand side, plays a lovely ball to Tavernier, who just can't quite execute the finish from a distance with his left foot.
Truffert picks up the ball just inside Bournemouth's half. Now to Kluivert on this left-hand side. Feeds it back to James Hill. Into Cook and out to Smith, and Bournemouth now enjoying stringing a few passes together. Ryan with an opportunity to run at Diaz, and he will take that opportunity, plays it across to Kluivert, and Kluivert edge of the area. His shot is saved, but it's loose, and Guéhi's back to clear it, and it looked like a bit of a scuffed effort from Kluivert, but Donnarumma could do nothing but just palm it into the penalty area, and luckily for him it was one of his own players who got on the end of it.
Crossfield ball's really working for Bournemouth when they get in those areas. That time it's the other way around. It's Ryan to Kluivert. Kluivert on the left-hand side of this 18-yard box. He opens himself up, he goes across Donnarumma, and he puts one of those big shovels on it, Donnarumma, and he actually gets it out of the danger area with his left hand. but another shot on target for Bournemouth, but it coming on the wide areas.
The long ball from Silva, too much on it. He raises a hand in apology to Ryan, who had space to run into. Had the ball, had a little bit more accuracy on it. Out it goes though. Manchester City goal kick. And Marco Rosa must be absolutely delighted with what he is seeing out here at the moment. Bournemouth lead here at the Etihad by 1-0. Let's get the latest from the F1. Jenny, go.
Thank you. Back underway. It's lap 8 of the Dutch Grand Prix after Max Verstappen crashed out and it was red flagged. They are now racing again. Kimi Antonelli getting a great start and taking the front row in the lead on the restart. So it's Antonelli, Norris and Piastri taking the better of Russell. So that's the top 3 at the moment, and no news at the back apart from Verstappen wasn't able to restart.
Semenyo twisting and turning inside the area, but he is crowded out by Bournemouth shirts, and they launch it clear looking for Evan Nielsen, who's all on his own and is asking for the ball to be played beyond so he can run onto it, because that was easily cleared by Kusanov, and Manchester City get possession back. Guardiola on this left hand side drops it to Diaz and to Anderson, who's deep in that almost back 3 setup that Manchester City have in possession, as Kusanov tries to get past Evan Nielsen. Does well enough. It will be a Manchester City throw-in. 3 minutes of the first half remaining. Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 1. And Paul Robinson alongside me, how impressed have you been with Bournemouth?
I think they're a well-organised, well-coached team, and you can see that they've not had the upheaval of a huge turnover of players. Yes, they lost players last season and during last season as well, but actually the way that they've picked up and continued, you can see how they've reached European football. I mean, they won 3 of their 5 friendlies, scoring 22 goals. They beat Genoa 10-0. But I mean, that's not the way that they're actually set up today. They're set up in more of a defensive shape, and they're a team that are able to do both. They can set up offensively, and they're very, very capable of sitting this defensive shape and playing on the counter-attack, as this game is panning out just nicely for them.
Yeah, it was an incredible few pre-season friendly games for Bournemouth in terms of their goals scored. I watched a bit of Genoa last night, and I don't know what team they played against, Bournemouth, but if it was that team, then my goodness, Bournemouth must have played well to score 10 past them. Manchester City with a corner. Phil Foden down to take it, their 4th of the game. Left-footed it will be, in swinging, goes deep, looking for Gay, who heads it back across, and it's fallen to Haaland. He's under pressure and he knocks it wide, and it will be a goal kick. I thought it might have taken a deflection, but it hasn't, so Bournemouth will have possession through a goal kick. And actually there is some Serie A football for you to enjoy on the BBC tonight. On the iPlayer, Atalanta against Sassuolo, 7:45. If you enjoy a bit of Serie A, 21 British players in Serie A this season, which surprised me. I knew there were certainly a few, but that feels like quite a lot.
And it's actually almost back to where it was Serie A. I cover Serie A for one of our other broadcasters, and it's a league that I really enjoyed doing last year. The title race was fairly close for a long while, and there's a lot of British interest in there. Yeah,
there certainly is. A fair few over there. Sassuolo have a couple of Scots playing for them who will be on show this evening. So you can watch that before watching Match of the Day, which is on BBC One tonight, 10:30. As a little bit of a scuffle breaks out here at the Etihad. All the players crowding around the referee, a couple of bodies down on the ground as well. Sort of came out of nothing, Paul.
Yeah, it's all a bit scrappy. I think there's 1 or 2 challenges in there that the Bournemouth players took offence to. And rather than wait for the referee to deal with it, I think they took their own retaliation. And then the Manchester City players did that, and before you know it, there's a melee. I don't think there's a lot in it. There's one Bournemouth player that's right down in the middle of a group of players. We can't actually quite see who it is yet. It might be Lewis Cook, I think. Just getting to have another look at it. It's Erling Haaland who initially gets the ball. He holds it up in the middle of the field. He's taken down by 2 Bournemouth players, and that then incensed Nico O'Reilly. And then the rest of them pile in. There's bodies everywhere. Mark Gay's at the heart of it. He feels that he was fouled. 1 or 2 players feeling that they were hard done to, but the referees quickly sorted it out, because he said, we can all go off for a minute if you like, and they were, no, just carry on.
Yeah, but they carry on, they do, and it will only be a minute left added to the end of this 45, which we are in now, so 1 minute added time. Could have gone for an early little half-time. Evan Nielsen did get a yellow card in amongst all of that, whatever part that he played in that melee, but we're back underway. It was a Manchester City free kick that was awarded, so City coming down this right-hand side. Rico Lewis gets to the byline, crosses it in, but Silva is there to head clear, and Manchester City pick up the loose ball. But if they're going to get themselves back into this one before the break, they need to do something better than that ball that was easily plucked out of the air by Petrovic, who in previous seasons would probably have held on to it until the half-time whistle blew, but not allowed to do that anymore under these new rules either. So he places it down, and Semenyo put him under pressure, but he gets it clear to Tavernier. Anderson, though, nips the ball off his toes. Lewis trying to feed Foden. There's a Bournemouth foot in, but it falls to Gahey. Forward to O'Reilly, and Semenyo left edge of the penalty area, driving towards that byline, but again a number of red and black shirts, but the cross does eventually come in. Haaland back post, and Lewis goes down in the area, clutching his head. Nothing given at the moment as Tavernier tries to twist away from Anderson, wins the free kick, but the referee, Jared Gillett, does have his hand to his ear, but now he says no penalty awarded as Lewis went down in the area, and that is the half-time whistle. And we've heard boos around us here at the Etihad. I'm not sure if that was stadium-wide or just some disgruntled supporters in front of us, but not happy at the performance of Manchester City in that first half. Plenty of possession, but they find themselves a goal down. Bournemouth on the break have looked dangerous, and it was through a brilliant break that Tavernier was able to find the finish, unmarked at the back post, to knock Evan Nielsen's cross into the bottom corner. That is the difference between the two teams. What have you made of it, Paul Robinson?
I don't think it's been all that bad for Manchester City, in all honesty, apart from the scoreline. I think they've played well, not in patches, for the majority of the first half. I mean, they've got 68.5% of the possession, Bournemouth 31.5%, and they find themselves a goal up. I think you look at both teams' XGs, you look at the shots that Manchester City have had, every column they dominate apart from the one that's most important at the top. But we see so many teams coming here to the Etihad and playing in this way. They're a well-organised side, they know exactly what to do. But the thing for Manchester City is we've seen their frailties unearthed again. On the counter-attack, they push too many bodies forward. The defenders, the full-backs act as the hybrid midfielders, and in those areas they've been exposed a number of times in this first half, and that's exactly where the goals come from, and where Donnarumma had to make a really good save with his left hand. When the two full-backs push on, you can't both go at the same time, because on the counter-attack, the turnover, what the opposition do, they put the ball into those spaces, and the willing runners of Tavernier and Ryan and Evan Nielsen get on the end of them, and that's the problems that Manchester City have had. Overall, as a performance, they've been dominant. They've lacked a little bit of quality in the final third, but I think the boos were a little bit harsh, in all honesty. I think that was just a reflection of the scoreline.
Yeah, well, Manchester City, they absolutely flew out of the traps here. They had a couple of great chances early on. A lovely little flick from Foden around the corner. Lewis was denied by Petrovic, and then after a brilliant O'Reilly run down the left-hand side, his cross found Haaland. You were waiting for the net to bulge, but somehow the big Norwegian just couldn't quite get his feet sorted. And then it is, at the break, Bournemouth who lead thanks to that Tavernier goal. Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 1.
Elite Paul, thank you. Back at the Etihad for second half commentary, which it will be on the way shortly. First, though, to the Amex. Some spectacle, John South. Welcome back.
Wow, what a half. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. A dream for Brighton, but an absolute horror show for Aston Villa. They have been shambolic. Brighton 4, Aston Villa 0, and that was after 31 minutes. They could have been 2 up, actually, after the opening 7 minutes. 2 Buendia chances, but after that, they absolutely capitulated. The opening goal on 8, De Kuyper on the right of the 6-yard box. His shot hit the post, came back off Lindelof, and in it went for an own goal. The second, routed down the left, beat Pau Torres. Cross for De Kuyper to sweep in. That was too simple. Hinshelwood then nodded in the third, unmarked. The fourth, Gomez dispossessed just on the edge of the area, too weak. Hinshelwood then helped himself to the fourth goal. Then the sending off. João Gomez on his league debut, challenge on Ruta, then the retaliation after the challenge, kicked out, sending off for that. No complaints about that whatsoever. Could have been 5, it could have been 6. De Kuyper, Gomez, both went close for Brighton. And just imagine Unai Emery in that dressing room now. He's never the calmest. The players will be avoiding the eye contact. What a half. I mean, you have to say, defensively, Villa have been absolutely awful. And that is why it is Brighton 4, 10 men Aston Villa 0.
John, thank you. Yeah, would love to be a fly on the wall in that Aston Villa dressing room at half-time. So second halves to come of Manchester City versus Bournemouth and Brighton versus Aston Villa. To cricket, a busy day in the county championship. Let's get the latest from Taunton. Somerset versus Essex is being watched by Kevin Howe.
It's not only a busy one, big one for Somerset. They need 102 here now to beat Essex. That's all they need. They're going along nicely, 36 for no wicket after Jack Leach picked up 5 wickets in that Essex second innings. They followed on, all out for 412 in the end, but Leach taking 9 wickets in the match. A victory for Somerset here will move them second, in between Notts in first, Warwickshire third. Notts and Warwickshire meet in Birmingham on Thursday. Other results from the day in the First Division: Leicestershire have beaten Glamorgan by 42 runs, and promotion matches in the Second Division and stories. Northants have beaten Lancashire by a whopping 316 runs, and Kent have beaten Middlesex by 46 runs.
Kevin, thank you so much. 5-3 this Sunday afternoon. Second half commentary of Manchester City versus Bournemouth on the way. But first up, let's get the latest BBC News here on 5 Live with Joe Critcher.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Cleveland police have named 5 young people aged between 17 and 23 who were killed when their car crashed while driving the wrong way along the A66 in Southbank near Middlesbrough. They were Michael Cahill, Theo Ray, Cole Worthy, Jacob Matisak and Mackay Saddington. Their car collided with a police vehicle, killing 2 officers. Anna Turley, the MP for
I think there's been a great deal made of the big stars that Newcastle have sold, but I think the selection of young players, all of them 24 or under, that Newcastle have signed, they're an interesting bunch as well. And I think to see how they start off, those who will be involved today, is very, very interesting. And there is a bit of news on Newcastle as well, in that Dan Burn, who's just been named as the new captain to succeed Bruno Guimaraes, he has injured himself. He's turned his ankle in training. He's out of this match, and he will also not be involved for the next 6 weeks or so. So that's quite the blow for Matthias Jaisler ahead of his first match in charge. And the vice captain, the newly named vice captain Joe Linton, is also on the injured list. So the expectation is that Malik Chow will be the captain today.
John, we have to head back to the Etihad. We'll catch you in a few moments or so ahead of that one. Let's go back then and join our commentary team of Paul Robinson and Ailey Barber.
Thanks, Aaron. Both teams out, both sets of players ready to go, just awaiting the referee, which is unusual, but he has now made his way. Jared Gillett placed the ball down on the centre circle, where Erling Haaland will look to get this second half underway, and it is a big second half for Manchester City. They trail by a 1-0 in Enzo Maresca's first game in charge in the Premier League. And it was interesting, Paul, hearing about John Murray talk about the young players that Newcastle have brought in. This is actually the youngest starting 11 for Manchester City for an opening day Premier League match since 2008 under Mark Hughes, and they will need some leaders in this second half.
I think we need to see that from them. I don't think that either manager will be overly disappointed with the first half. Bournemouth, obviously, Marco Rosa will be delighted the way it panned out. And I think Enzo Maresca's message will be more of the same, but just take care in the final third. When you get in those areas, just have a little bit of thought. Use the quality that you've got. Don't just bundle balls into the box expecting Erling Haaland to get on the end of them. Take care with your final passes, your final balls.
Well, let me run you through that Manchester City starting 11. Donnarumma in goal, Lewis, Gvardiol, Diaz and Kusanov amongst the back four. Anderson and the surprise of Mark Gahey make up the midfield, with O'Reilly in front of them and Foden and Semenyo supporting Erling Haaland. And Manchester City have started in much the way that they ended the first half. They are on the front foot, putting pressure on a very compact and organised Bournemouth side. They start with Petrovic in goal, Truffert, Silva, Hill and Smith in the back four, Cook and Scott in midfield, Ryan, Kluivert and Tavernier in support of Evan Nielsen. And it is Manchester City in the sky blue tops, white shorts, white socks, playing from our right to left, and Bournemouth in their traditional home kit of the red and black stripes, black shorts, black socks. They are playing from our left to right as the sun still beats down a lovely late summer afternoon in Manchester, and Manchester City will look to try and find something in this second half, because Bournemouth, they've proven to be a bit of a tough nut to crack, difficult team to get through in terms of their defensive setup, but my goodness, on the break they carry a threat.
Yeah, they've changed shape, Manchester City. Mark Gahey's gone in alongside Ruben Diaz. Kusanov's gone to right back. Rico Lewis is playing higher up the field on the right hand side. There's a definite change in personnel. Gahey's definitely now alongside Diaz as he drifts into midfield at times. Rico Lewis playing really high up on the right hand side when they're in possession.
Yeah, he got pretty high in that first half when he was playing in a more right-back position. He has now, it does, like you say, Paul, looks very much like he's been given that licence to move forward, but now Gahey stepped into midfield
again, yeah. I mean, that's obviously the confusion that he's looking to cause Enzo Maresca for the opposition, but actually it's looking like it's confusing his own team at times as well as to who goes and who stays, because at that time Gahey was pushed on, Lewis was pushed on, but now Gahey's back in midfield alongside Elliot Anderson.
Yeah, such versatility amongst so many of these Manchester City players, but it has looked a little confusing at times, as that ball, crossfield ball looking for Lewis, was just a little too deep and went all the way out. So Bournemouth with the throw-in. Truffert on that left-hand side was such a stalwart for them last season. In his first season, he was actually named in Opta's Premier League Team of the Season, the only player to make 50 or more overlapping runs in the Premier League last season, and the most progressive ball carriers of any fullback. So we know what he can do going forward. Defensively, he's going to have a little bit of work to do because Lewis is coming forward, but he's helped out by Alex Scott, and the ball goes out for a Manchester City throw-in just on the halfway line, which Lewis will take.
One thing I've noticed since half-time, the substitutes for Manchester City, they were all out warming up at half-time, but immediately the second half's kicked off. There's 2, 4, 5 of them, all down there with a fitness coach. Enzo Maresca in constant contact with the fitness coach. All the substitutes seem ready to go at any minute. He might have a change in mind, Enzo Maresca.
Well, he does have some options to pick from on that bench. Ryan Cherries, someone that certainly expected by many to start today. He's on the bench alongside Jack Grealish, who's getting an opportunity again in a Manchester City shirt after his loan spell at Everton last season. Ball out to the left-hand side looking for Semenyo. That is very overhit, and Bournemouth will win possession with a goal kick.
Again, an example of Manchester City getting in good areas and then just wasting it. It's one of the players that you wouldn't expect. Phil Foden looking for a cross-field pass to Semenyo up this side on the left-hand side, and he just gets the execution all wrong, and he just puts it out for a goal kick in the corner for Bournemouth.
Launched forward by Petrovic, looking for Kluivert, but Lewis does his defensive duties well, wins possession back for Manchester City. They're trying to get the ball forward, trying to create the opportunities, and you don't like to say it because we all know what Erling Haaland can do, but he has, other than that opportunity, that big chance that he couldn't quite get himself sorted for in the first half, he's been very quiet.
He's a player that needs service. I mean, you can't expect him to do it all on his own. There's criticism that's levelled at him that he doesn't take part in the game. You know, he's not involved, he doesn't have many touches, but what he does, he occupies defenders, which allows the likes of Foden, O'Reilly, Semenyo, the players in and around him. He occupies defenders, he takes up space and he takes up players, but when he is given the opportunity, he scores the goals. He has been relatively quiet, but it was an excellent chance for him in the first half.
He had a great opportunity. Perhaps he will have another one here because Manchester City have a corner. Elliot Anderson in towards the back post. Guéhi's there, and somehow he's directed it wide and he kicks the back of the net in frustration. What an opportunity for Mark Guéhi. He was all alone. He just didn't quite get enough contact on it. It's gone wide of the right-hand post.
It's a chance. It's a real chance for Manchester City. It's one that Guéhi has to score. It's a wonderful delivery from Elliot Anderson. The goalkeeper Petrovic, he looks to have misjudged the ball. He ends up almost on his knees in the middle of the 6-yard box. Whether he gets a nudge or not from Erling Haaland, I don't think he does. Mark Guéhi 3 yards out at the far post. Rather than putting his head solidly on it, he just looks to glance it in at the far post, and he glances it wide. He's 3 yards out of the goal when he makes connection and he puts it wide. That is a really bad miss from Mark Guéhi. Massive
chance, and now Manchester City come forward again. Semenyo into the penalty area, but he's forced out wide by Tavernier and Hill, and that pass from Guardiola is going to go all the way through. Right, let's get an update from the Rugby League. York against Leeds, and Sharon Shortall.
It's First Blood Leeds. They lead by 6 points to 0 thanks to a try from Riley Lum going in at the corner. The position set up from an interception from Ryan Hall, and it was converted by O'Connor. Just pausing slightly, looks like Leeds might have scored again, but either way, 12 minutes gone. Yep, Leeds are in again. It's now York 0, Leeds Rhinos 10. Kick to come.
Manchester City coming forward, edge of Bournemouth's penalty area again with the busy Semenyo, launches it towards that back post where Haaland was crowded out by two Bournemouth players, and it's come off the head of Silva, and it will be another corner for Manchester City. They're putting the pressure on at the start of this second half. They trail by 1-0 thanks to Tavernier's first half strike, and it's played short. Foden with it. Looks towards the back post. Diaz gets it across the face of goal, but Silva does incredibly well to flick it up and then launch it clear right on the 6-yard line, but it is going to be picked up by Kusanov. So Manchester City still in possession, still putting the pressure on, still looking for a way to try and break down this organised Bournemouth setup. Marco Rosa, hands on hips, watching on. He could be making some Bournemouth history if he can see this game out. Bournemouth have never won here at the Etihad, but they have the advantage in his first game in charge of the club. And that's cut out, that pass from Diaz by Evan Nielsen coming forward. He's got support from Ryan, who flicks it away from the on-rushing Anderson, but it's loose and scrappy, and now City pick up possession. Haaland on the halfway line, turning, looking for options, plays it square to O'Reilly, to Semenyo, ever willing runner down this left hand side today, cuts it onto that right foot now back, tries to go back down around the outside of Smith, and there's a little tug on the arm. Smith goes down and Bournemouth win the free kick.
That's twice now in this second half that Semenyo's got the beating of Smith once again. Twice that he's come inside and got it on his right foot. The crowd beneath us are begging him to shoot. He's looking for options in the middle. First one he curled into Erling Haaland and it ended up coming to nothing. And that one he loses possession, he gets inside. You're thinking, go on then, shoot, open up, hit it across the goalkeeper. He elects to chop back and try and beat the fullback again, and then he ends up giving it away, a simple foul.
And Petrovic goes long. It is well controlled almost by Tavernier, but Lewis comes away with it. Trufer with too much pressure on the Manchester City fullback, and a free kick is won. I'm not sure if that's the Bournemouth fans that are disgruntled by that free kick awarding, or the fact that he pushed the ball away.
Tell you what, just a word on the Bournemouth fans. Those 3 tiers away to our right-hand side, the away teams not often fill those, but credit to Bournemouth, it's a long, long way. They've filled every single one of those 3 tiers with the away section.
Oh, they have indeed, and what a season they have in store. European nights at the Vitality, who'd have thought that a few seasons ago? But that is where they are after a wonderful season under Iraola last season. It's been, talking of wonderful starts anyway, a wonderful start to the season for Brighton. We can get an update from the Amex with John Southall.
Yes, they are currently top of the league, Brighton. Brighton 4, Aston Villa 0, 4-0 at half-time, of course. Villa have just stemmed the tide a bit in this second half. Had an early chance here, Martin down the left-hand side. His shot into the side netting. And also great credit to the Villa fans who are still singing in the sunshine here. Brighton 4, Villa 0.
Well, Manchester City are going to make a change. They still trail by that goal to 0, and it's going to be Matheus Nunes who comes on, pulled out of the match, in the warm-up at the Community Shield last week, so perhaps not quite fit enough to start yet, but he's going to come off the bench, and we think he's going to replace Rico Lewis on that right-hand side. So like for City. Lewis gets a warm applause and a warm...
I really don't think Rico Lewis has done a lot wrong, you know.
No.
I think he's had a couple of really good opportunities. He's caused problems when he's gone forward. And whether he's carrying a knock or whatever, I mean, the supporters in and around us have given him a warm ovation coming off, and some questioning the manager as to why he's brought him off, because there's no shape change. It's just a like-for-like. Nunes going in at right back where Lewis was.
Nunes, he does have a good delivery. Is he perhaps hoping that there was maybe a little bit more quality on the delivery? Rico Lewis, like you say though, he's done well down that right-hand side, but could that be a reason? Possibly.
I mean, he's been a really good outball as Rico Lewis. He's popped up in some good areas. He's moved the ball very, very quickly. He's stretched the pitch. He's gone high up. He's been one of City's most attacking, thinking players. And I think the general consensus of opinion in and around us is if you're going to change it to affect the game. He's not changed the shape. He's not changed the system. It's just a like-for-like personnel swap.
Yeah, that shape we thought had changed at the start of the second half, but it has very much gone back to as it was during the first half with Guéhi in that holding midfield role, as Petrovic's kick is just too long for Smith to keep in, so it will be a throw-in for Manchester City. Let's get an update once again on the Rugby League. York against Leeds. Sharon Shortall.
16 minutes gone, it's York 0, Leeds 18. The Rhinos scoring at more than a point of minute so far. 2 tries for Riley Lum. He's had a hand in the third one as well, with Chris Hankinson finishing off that move. All 3 converted by Jake Connor. It's York 0, Leeds 18.
Plenty of scoring action there as the ball comes in for Semenyo at the back post, but I think the defenders did just enough to put Semenyo off, couldn't connect with it. Difficult ball to try and take first time, but it's going all the way out for a goal kick. Plenty of action too at the Amex. Brighton leading Aston Villa by 4 goals to 0. That's the 10 men of Aston Villa. You can listen to that one if you want commentary from that game on Sports Extra 2 and BBC Sounds here at Manchester City. It is still Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 1. This is the first of 2 commentaries on 5 Live this afternoon. Following us here, Newcastle against Liverpool. That will be an emotional day at St James's Park, as 2 of Kevin Keegan's former clubs, they pay their respects in their first match since his sad passing in July. That is at 4:30 with John Murray.
Isn't it strange how fate takes place? I mean, 2 of his most relevant former clubs and in a twist of fate, they play each other on the opening day of the season, and two of the most passionate, respectful sets of supporters will come together at St James's Park this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to be able to feel all the emotion through the radio as well. And it will be an incredibly emotional day at St James's Park. So loved there and so loved at Liverpool, and so loved here at Manchester City for his time as manager here. Oversaw a lot of change, the move to what is now the Etihad, taking them back into the Premier League, where they have never left since Keegan took them back to the top flight. And it is now Enzo Maresca who has what might well be an unenviable task of trying to fill the shoes of Pep Guardiola, but one that he is certainly very motivated and confident that he can do. And at the moment, it is not going to plan. Bournemouth with that goal advantage as Tavernier goes down and is adjudged to have fouled Anderson in the process, so a free kick to Manchester City around the halfway line as another little scuffle breaks out. Matheus Nunes, who wasn't even on the pitch when the last scuffle broke out, getting involved.
Made his way from a long way away to get involved there. Didn't like what he saw. Not necessarily that he needed to get involved from such a distance. Enzo Maresca down beneath us, talking to his coaching staff, looking at the iPads, looking towards his substitutes, looking at his bench, sending, I think it's Cherries, he just got him off his seat and send him out to warm up. Substitutes have been warming up for most of the second half for Manchester City, but he's certainly searching for some answers here, Enzo Maresca. For all the possession that they've had and for all the advantage, in the aerial advantage that they've had, they certainly haven't really tested Petrovic in this second half.
No, Cherky and Kovacic were the two that were sent out to warm up, so perhaps a change incoming for City. Long ball, looking for the run of Semenyo, just asking a little bit too much of the former Bournemouth man, who's once again been a real bright spark for Manchester City.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing for Manchester City now is changes that affect the game. I think the changes that he made, as we're talking now, Elliot Anderson's just gone down in the middle of the pitch. That's not a good sign for Manchester City, but that may give Enzo Maresca an opportunity to make the changes that he wants to.
Yeah, well, this time the physios will come on for some treatment for Anderson. So let's get to St James's Park, that 4:30 kickoff between Newcastle and Liverpool, and get the team news with John Murray.
Yeah, confirmation, Ailey. No Dan Burn for Newcastle, out with an ankle injury, so Chow does captain a Newcastle team with 3 debutants in it. Goalkeeper Hornicek, right back Dedic, and midfielder Stur. 3 others are substitutes, Bamba, Toure and goalkeeper Jouen. As for Liverpool, they will field the same team that started against Como last weekend. That means a debut for centre-back Jacquet, and Alexander Isak will start and play against Newcastle for the first time since his acrimonious departure.
Thank you, John. A few changes being made here at the Etihad as we have this little break in play. So Ryan Cherky will come on, and he's going to come on for Nico O'Reilly. So like for like once again, and then Kovacic is going to come on for Elliot Anderson, who's just been getting that little bit of treatment, and there will certainly be a hope as he comes off the pitch. Looks like he's walking all right. He's got a gel in his hand, but there will be certainly hope that is more precaution than anything else.
Yeah, he was the one that went down in the middle of the pitch there, which allowed Enzo Maresca to make the substitutions. Just looking now to see what he's actually done with the shape. Still the same, Foden out on the right, Semenyo down here on the left-hand side. Cherky, like for like, gone into the number 10 role in behind Haaland. Mark Gay looking to step up higher up the pitch and press. And it's an interesting time now for Enzo Maresca. He's brought Kovacic on, puts him alongside Mark Gay. And if it doesn't work for Manchester City, people will say, well, why didn't you start with Cherky? Why didn't you start with Kovacic? Why didn't you start with Nunez? Why was the starting 11 so experimental?
Yeah, it will be an interesting dynamic, because you would have to say Mark Gahey more a 6, Kovacic perhaps more a 6 as well. You're looking for somebody to bring that energy, that legs for Manchester City in that midfield, and whether Cherky and Foden maybe come in a little bit more narrow. It will be interesting to see how it all plays out.
There's a real lull around the stadium. I mean, it's not a stadium that's famed for its atmosphere at the best of times, but actually it's really quiet here in the second half. I mean, what we're now is 64 minutes in. I think there was an expectation when the players came out for the second half, but they've not really created much. They've not given the fans a lot to get off their seats for.
Yeah, Bournemouth seem as well quite comfortable just to let Manchester City have the ball. They've not really been hurt at all in this second half, albeit Mark Gay, he had that huge opportunity from a corner, but certainly from open play. They haven't caused too many problems, Manchester City.
It's about the creativity. They're looking for the creative players rather than overthinking at times. You can criticise them for maybe trying to score the perfect goal, trying to be too perfect in the build-up, but put the ball in areas and be effective, which they haven't been this afternoon thus far.
Ruben Dias with a loose pass that was cut out by Ryan, so Bournemouth with possession. It's gone all the way back to Petrovic in their goal though, but they'll look to play it out with Alex Scott, but that's a loose one from Scott. It looked like a pretty ferocious pass from Petrovic to the midfielder, but Bournemouth do win possession back deep in their own half and launch it forward to space for Kluivert. Lovely little touch into the path of Scott, and he's now able to feed Ryan down this right hand side. He's going to try and beat Gvardiol for pace, which he almost does, but just at the very last moment I think changes his mind on whether he's going to cross it, and it sneaks out of play, and it will be a Manchester City goal kick. So let's head to the Amex. Is it as lively a second half, John Southall?
It's a bit quieter, but we couldn't have had that again. Brighton 4, Aston Villa 0. Castinia's just come on as a substitute to make his league debut for the club. His first touch, his shot ricocheted off the left post, came back to Costulas, he tucked it in, but was offside. Respite for Villa, Villa 0, Brighton 4.
4-0 there, 1-0 here, but it is 1-0 to the visitors, Bournemouth. But Manchester City had an opportunity down that left-hand side. Finally got to see Haaland drive again. He did it in the first half and created such a good opportunity. He was able there to get down the left-hand side, tried to feed Foden, but it was well read by Silva, and the danger was cleared for Bournemouth once again.
Yeah, he just bumped fullback Adam Smith off the ball there. Erling Haaland used his strength very cleverly, and then he had a full free run down the left-hand channel, and you could see what he was trying to do. The on-rushing Phil Foden from the right-hand side, he was tucking in, tried to play a ball across the 18-yard box on the floor to Phil Foden. The goalkeeper anticipated it really well and comes sliding out of his goal and thwarted the danger.
Bournemouth with possession in their back line. Silva, the new boy from Benfica, playing it up to Tavernier on that left-hand side. Gets it back. It's been a very composed debut so far from the 22-year-old. It's not been a hugely busy window for Bournemouth as Tavernier and Guéhi go down, but Semenyo has it on his left foot, gets a shot away, and it's saved a little bit unorthodoxly by Petrovic, but he's kept it out, and Bournemouth get it half clear, but Gvardiol's picked it up and Kovacic drives forward. Gvardiol, left edge of the area, cuts it back again to Kovacic, who spins away from all the red and black shirts that have flooded back into Bournemouth's penalty area, and Manchester City are going to have to start again, which they do through Dias. And Gvardiol again with space on the left-hand side. Semenyo's gone a little bit more narrow, almost playing in a two with Haaland at the moment in the way that it's set up. And City now get the crowd on their feet again. Down this right-hand side is Nunez. Plays it all the way back to Kusanov, and Diaz in the centre circle. Options ahead of him. Kovacic picks it up, plays it short to Diaz, and Evan Nielsen thought he could maybe get a little sniff there, but Diaz quicker to it. Guéhi coming forward and feeds Cherky, the dancing feet of Cherky. He's got Foden inside on that left foot, and the shot comes in, it's taken a deflection, it's gone wide, but that is the position on his left foot that you want to get Phil Foden in.
Yeah, heading hands from Phil Foden. It's better from Manchester City. It really is attack versus defence at the moment. You can feel something's just bubbling under the surface for Manchester City. They've looked livelier since Cherky came on. That's it, he's taken the game to Bournemouth. He cuts inside, gives it to Phil Foden, 18 yards out, slightly on the angle, takes a deflection. It was going on target.
Ryan Cherky on corner duties now, to the back post, headed clear by Silva. It will be picked up again though by a sky blue shirt and recycled, but that's loose from Nunez, and Bournemouth get a toe on it, and then the loose ball is picked up again by Bournemouth. Kluivert's got nowhere to go though with Guardiola in front of him, and Manchester City keep possession with a throw-in. 68.5 minutes gone here at the Etihad on Radio 5 Live. Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 1 on this opening Premier League weekend, as Ryan Cherky cuts inside in the centre circle, very deep, trying to dictate where the ball should go, and it goes to where he pointed with Nunez, but he's crowded out by red and black Bournemouth shirts, and Manchester City, they're having to be so patient, Paul Robinson.
Yeah, the build-up's good from Manchester City. There's just no end product at the moment. It really is attack versus defence. I mean, the two central defenders are the ones that are holding back. Everything is to our left inside the Bournemouth half. Bournemouth are just staying a tight, compact unit and say, go and then try and break us down. To which Manchester City, they are actually being patient and not rushing things. Petrovic had to make a really good save 3 or 4 minutes ago from Semenyo. Got in a really good position, Semenyo, on the angle, hard and low to the goalkeeper's left. Made a good save.
Cherky has it, right edge of the penalty area, trying to shift it to find a little way past Tavernier, but he's done really well and forced Cherky back. Now it's Gahey, lovely little ball through the lines to Cherky. Can he get there? He manages to cut it back, and he did keep it in play, but it is cleared by Bournemouth as far as Tavernier. Now to Truffert, and now Truffert launches it long, asking Kluivert, who's the highest Bournemouth player to run, but that was a run he was never going to win. So Diaz picks up the loose ball, and you can hear the crowd lifting inside the Etihad, urging their team forward.
You know that Bournemouth are struggling because they've got no out ball now. When you pen a team that far back, and you know Evan Nielsen is the striker who would generally be the out ball, Manchester City are that dominant and that high up the field. Evan Nielsen's having to sit on the top of his midfield players, so when Bournemouth do win the ball back, they've got no out ball. The turnover for Manchester City is they win the ball back straight away. It's almost like they're kicking for space at the moment, Bournemouth. The manager's going to have to do something. I'm looking down at him now. The bench is very active.
Yeah, there's a number of players getting instructions. Daniel Jebbison is one of them, so a forward player certainly will be coming on as Tavernier tries to get the ball across, but Diaz is there to just play it back out to the right-hand side to Nunez and to Gahey, and Manchester City will play this one back out from their own defensive third. Kovacic back to Gahey. Looked like he was perhaps going to go long to Haaland, thought better of it, changed his mind, and City keep hold of the ball. And it was a lot made of Mark Gahey, as actually that was a really nice little ball from Nunez to Foden into the penalty area, just halts his run, finds Nunez to Cherky, lovely feet from Cherky to Haaland, and the shot is scooped over the top of the bar, and Haaland lies flat on his back in a star shape. He knows that that was another opportunity, and it was another one that him nor Manchester City could take.
Half an opportunity for Erling Haaland. He makes the most of it. Good interaction between Phil Foden and Cherky. The lively Cherky since he's come on. He's been in the middle of everything that Manchester City have done. Him and Foden have linked up extremely well. Ball squeezes through to Haaland. He manages to hold the central defender off that's putting him under pressure. 12 yards out, swings a left foot at it. I think the central defender there, Hill, just gets back across him at the right time and puts him off.
Well, there are 3 Bournemouth players down in front of us waiting to come on. Alex Taut, Daniel Jebbison, who I mentioned before, and Tyler Adams, the American international. They are all alongside Marco Rosa, getting some words of wisdom from their new manager. And there was a lot made about Marco Rosa and the attacking nature of his team, the goals that his team scored. You've already mentioned that Bournemouth scored 21 goals in their 5 pre-season matches, and if you look back to when he was at Dortmund, they scored 85 goals in one season, the club's most at that period of time. Defensively, that Dortmund team struggled, but this defensive setup from Bournemouth has been impressive, and they found an end product, albeit once.
Well, he's shown versatility as a manager. He knows the way that he wants his team to play. He knows the way that he prefers his team to play. But he's also tactically clever enough to be aware of the opposition that he's playing against and knows that he can't play that way and he has to set up a different way. The versatility that he's shown as a manager today, that he's sent his team out with a game plan. Yes, it might not be one of dominance, it might not be one of playing on the front foot and dominating the game, but actually there's a clear plan and organisation, and it's clever from the Bournemouth manager.
Now just 31% possession over these 73 minutes Bournemouth have had, but that 31% possession has resulted in the only goal of the game so far. In fact, their 3 shots on target matches Manchester City's 3 shots on target, albeit City have certainly created more opportunities in this game and they have been dominant on the ball, but Bournemouth standing up to the challenge at the moment as Cherries plays it inside to Kovacic, and again it's patient build-up from City and going more. I mean, you spoke at the start of the first half when City flew out of the traps and every ball was forward, everything was positive. There is an element of that, but still not quite as much as Guéhi gets to the byline, gets the cross back, and Haaland's shot, it was difficult for him to get power on it, but he got something on it, but Petrovic able to pluck it out of the ground, and that was very positive play from Manchester City. And from Mike Guéhi, who I have to say has looked comfortable in that central midfield position. Yeah,
that's their best chance of the game, Manchester City. It just finds itself a little bit behind Erling Haaland. Phil Foden on the right hand side, he slots a ball in between the fullback and central defender, which Mark Guéhi gets on the end of just before it runs out for a goal kick. He cleverly cuts it back, but it's almost a bounce ball into Erling Haaland, and it's slightly behind the big Norwegian striker, and he's hit it into the ground and made it easy for the goalkeeper. It's a difficult one for Mark Guéhi because he sets it up and he hits the ball into the ground, and it's behind Erling Haaland. He can't quite get his shot, the power that he wants.
Well, Bournemouth are making those changes, and it does look like it will be a slight change perhaps in shape or position for one, because Evan Nielsen does stay on the pitch and Daniel Jebbison has come on, so that's a 2 strikers now on the field of play. So Jebbison replaces Kluivert, Alex Toth comes on and replaces Lewis Cook, and Tyler Adams replaces Alex Scott for like for like in that central midfield position. But it may well be that Evan Nielsen drops a little bit into that number 10. Or did he go off?
Evan Nielsen was the first
one.
Nielsen
went off.
He snuck off early on this near side, right on this near touchline where you couldn't see him. So I think that probably will be like for like with Jebbison. It
will indeed be like for like. So Daniel Jebbison gets an opportunity, was on loan last season at Preston North End, gets an opportunity at the start of this season. Let's get another update from the Rugby League. Sharon Shortle.
Well, we think the score is York 4, Leeds 36. York have just got the first points on the board, but that try is currently going to review. But since you were last with us, we've had tries from Callum Watkins, Mikolaj Ledski and Lockie Miller for Leeds Rhinos. That took them out to 36 points to 0. We think York have scored, still to be confirmed. It could be 36 points to 4 that Leeds Rhinos lead.
Right, let me run you through those Bournemouth changes just in case, because I made a real mess of them at the initial time. So Alex Toth has come on for Lewis Cook. Alex Scott is still on the pitch. Tyler Adams replaces Kluivert, and Daniel Jebbison replaces Evan Nielsen up front. So hopefully that is a little bit clearer for you. So Marco Rosa not changing things too much for these final 15 minutes as Bournemouth look to hold on for what would be a famous victory for them, given they have never won here in 9 attempts at the Etihad. But what a way it would be as well to start the Marco Rosa era for the South Coast club. And it is Bournemouth who are coming forward, and defensive duties for Phil Foden, knocks it out for a Bournemouth throw-in on that far side, midway between the halfway line and Manchester City's penalty area, and Jebbison gets his first touch on the ball, and he goes down and he will win the free kick. And he's an interesting story, Daniel Jebbison. He's a huge figure of a man up front, a real different test for Manchester City, for their back line, but he's very confident that he can make an impact and stake a claim for a starting place. He's had to play in a number of loans last season at Preston, as I mentioned, but he's certainly very confident in his ability and what he can bring to this Bournemouth side. He's got an opportunity now and he's won that free kick.
I think the point that you make about the different challenge for the Manchester City central defenders, that's something that Bournemouth will look to now. Evan Nielsen will run in behind, he'll run the channels, but they're now looking for somebody who might hold on the ball and keep possession for them.
Ball in, flicked header, and that's had to be pushed away very smartly by Donnarumma. And it wasn't Jebbison that got the little flicked header brilliantly executed, just with the back of his head as he was crouching down, and he's directed it goalwards. Smart save.
It's a really good header from Jebison. Simple free kick from Bournemouth, outswinger from the left-hand side, left-footed. It's behind Jebison. He really cranes his neck, fires it towards Donnarumma's near post. I mean, the goalkeeper makes it look good. It's a simple save, one you'd expect him to make, but one that he had to make. Another shot on target for Bournemouth.
Another shot on target, and an opportunity now to swing it in again from the corner. In it goes, headed clear by Gvardiol. Will be out for another corner though for Bournemouth. And down below us, talking about players getting an opportunity, Jack Grealish is standing down, waiting to come on for Manchester City. On loan at Everton last season. He played a little part in the Community Shield last weekend. That was his first for Manchester City in 453 days. As Donnarumma goes down in the area, and there's shouts from the Bournemouth fans behind that goal. A little bit of jostling that the referee is going to have to sort out as Bournemouth wait to take this corner kick, and Donnarumma and Tyler Adams are having words with each other in there. Donnarumma not happy at whatever Adams has done in there.
Just watching it on the replay, it's Donnarumma that's playing the clown. I mean, it's Tyler Adams that's getting underneath Donnarumma's skin. He's putting his arm across his throat and his chest, and Donnarumma just goes to the ground and there's nobody around him.
Well, it is the American who's getting spoken to by the referees. Quite a size difference between those two.
He's going to have to be careful, Donnarumma. He's pushing a lot of Bournemouth players around in there.
Yeah, well, the corner comes in from Kluivert but doesn't beat the first man. Headed clear, but it's sent all the way back to Petrovic, who's well outside his area. Under pressure from Foden, launches it clear, and ball just falls in behind Gvardiol, and Jebison was looking lively but couldn't get on it, and feels like this game's taken another little level up in terms of the intensity since these changes were made. Bournemouth with it, and it is Adams on that far side. He drops it back to Truffert and back to Silva. Let's get another update from the Formula One. Jenny, go.
20 laps to go, and it's a great battle at the front with Lewis Hamilton now and the Ferrari leading the way, but the next two are separated just 2 seconds, with Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes and then Lando Norris, our reigning world champion, in the McLaren, and it's dicing all the way. This is going to be a very dramatic end. Can Hamilton stay ahead, or will someone else catch him?
Well, that Manchester City change now being made. It is Phil Foden making way for Jack Grealish, and there is a real warm reception for Jack Grealish. He's such a character. He is loved here at Manchester City, and I'm sure he would love, and they would love, to see him find a way back into a regular starting spot at this club.
I think he's a type of character that's loved everywhere, Jack Grealish. He's just got a likeable soul, hasn't he? And when you actually speak to him, you understand the passion that he's got for the game. Yes, he loves his life and he lives life, but he absolutely loves football. There's nothing I'd love to see more than Jack Grealish get fit again and get himself playing regularly, whether it's here at Manchester City or elsewhere, because he's one of the natural talents that I think was coached out of the game a little bit with Pep Guardiola's system, but he's a player that excites, he's a player that's relatable too, and he's liked everywhere he goes. And I think with him making the changes now, Enzo Maresca, there's one thing I will question about him today, Enzo Maresca. He's never changed the shape. They're chasing the game, they're 1-0 down, we're entering the last 10 minutes of the game. Why does he need two holding midfielders? They're 1-0 down. He's got Mark Gay and Kovacic sitting in front of a back four who have nobody to mark, yet he's still got two holding midfielders. He's made personnel changes, but the shape has never changed.
Haaland beats Silva to the ball, striding forward, and Truffert, the ball was bouncing around, and Truffert somehow managed to get, I think, a heel on it to flick it away from Haaland as he bore down on goal. But now Bournemouth come forward. Ryan on the right hand side tries to spin away from Gvardiol, but he does well, Gvardiol, and then under pressure as well from Toth, manages to get the ball clear, and now City come forward again. But there was another little glimpse of the threat of Erling Haaland. He did really well to win that ball just ahead of Silva.
He's probably worked out that he's not going to get a lot of service this afternoon, Erling Haaland. He's going to have to do it himself. That time he dropped deep, won the ball, it was bobbling around, he couldn't quite bring it under his control, and in the end he ended up losing the control when crowded out.
Into the final 7 minutes. Down this right-hand side, Nunez tries to get the ball across, and again Silva is there. He gets a high five from his goalkeeper. It's out for another Manchester City corner. But that again was a dangerous position for Bournemouth. And again they were able to see that danger out, but they will have to defend another corner that Cherries goes over to take. And it is Diaz with his two hands in the air, looking perhaps for that ball to head his way. Number of targets in that penalty area for City, and it goes, and it is Guéhi, and there is the goal. This time he gets it right. He missed from point blank range earlier on, but this time he gets everything behind the header. He directs it towards goal, and it flew past Petrovic, and he has both arms in the air. He is celebrating. He knows how important that goal is. And from a set piece, it is Manchester City 1, Bournemouth 1.
And it's the goal-scoring central midfielder Marc Guéhi who rises completely unmarked in the middle of the box. It's a really easy set play, disappointing from Bournemouth's point of view. It's an in-swinger from the far side from Cherries on his left foot. Marc Guéhi 7 yards out, completely unmarked. Just looking at it again, I think it takes a deflection. It must take a deflection in front of the goalkeeper Petrovic, because it's heading straight for the goalkeeper. Guéhi rises really high, makes a great connection, but so unfortunate for Bournemouth. It comes off Truffert right in front of the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper dives one way, it's deflected into the other corner, but it's a goal that will go down as Marc Guéhi's.
It will indeed, and Marco Rosa will be wondering how Marc Guéhi had so much space in the middle of the penalty area. He was uncontested as he rose to head that in, and he put everything behind that one. But now Bournemouth with Jebbison down the right-hand side. There's Ryan offering, right edge of the penalty area. The Brazilian skips towards the penalty box, plays it back to Tyler Adams. Lovely little turn to get himself away from Kovacic. And Bournemouth have found another gear since conceding. Back though it goes with Silva. Manchester City forcing them away from their goal. Manchester City 1, Bournemouth 1 into the final 5 minutes. And the Etihad has certainly come alive as Jebbison tries to get past Gvardiol. He does so well to Alex Toth, who tries to skip past Kusanov, and Kusanov does really well to get away from the Hungarian. And now Manchester City, Antoine Semenyo has moved over to that right-hand side, loses out, no free kick. The referee wags a finger. The former Bournemouth man was looking for one, but now Bournemouth back in possession, and this game has picked up in intensity.
Well, Bournemouth obviously conceded, but they're certainly not settling for the draw. They're looking to press and push forward against Manchester City. Both teams now entering the last 3 minutes or so of this game of normal time, plus whatever's bolted on at the end. Both teams going searching for a winner.
It has been a good watch for the most part, this game, and now Bournemouth are looking to try and get themselves back in front. It was it was Tavernier who put them ahead in the first half, but that Marc Guéhi header has brought Manchester City level. Long ball looking for Jebbison, who spins away from Kusanov, but Diaz there to help out his central defender and clear it to Semenyo. And it looks like Bournemouth are going to make another change, and it's an attacking change. Ben Gannon-Doak down there, the lively winger, certainly carries bags of pace with him, so he will be introduced for the final few minutes to see if he can inspire a first ever victory at the Etihad for Bournemouth. They come forward again. Tavernier drops it to Adams, out to the left hand side to Toth. And now Tavernier again. Hill over the halfway line, but he's going to be forced back. Got support from Smith. It bounces up off Grealish's hand, so it will be a free kick to Bournemouth just down in front of their technical areas. Ben Gannon-Doak comes on and will replace Ryan, the Brazilian. Those two met, of course, at the World Cup, but let's not talk about that.
I can see that substitution happening. Ryan, a couple of times there, he's had opportunities to run Guardiola, and Guardiola's coaching him quite easy. He looked like he's run out of fuel, his tank's empty as Ryan. Straight like for like, but it does give them some fresh legs and pace on this near touch line. And you've got to give Bournemouth so much credit. They're still going after Manchester City here.
It is a first touch for Gannon-Doak, right edge of the penalty area, gets the cross in, but Donnarumma is able to clutch that one out of the air and plays it long to Haaland. He tries to feed Cherky, which he does, just over the halfway line. Cherky forced to chop back, but he keeps possession beautifully and now plays it out to this left-hand side, but Grealish just not quite able to keep that one in play. Beautiful feet from Cherky, and we know he can do that in the tightest of areas. And that was required there because Bournemouth had a number of players back in and around him. Kept possession. This could be a lively final minute of the 90. And 3 that is going to be added to this one. Can we find a winner in these remaining 4 minutes? Bournemouth looking long for Jebbison again. Cleared though by Manchester City to Nunez, to Diaz. Being urged forward by the Manchester City crowd as Kusanov goes for a run down that right-hand side. Matched though by Tavernier, who does well to win it. Not anything else he can do though but launch it out for a Manchester City throw-in.
Yeah, running out of time now, Manchester City. They've created very, very little in open play. For all the possession that they've had, the creativity has been lacking. They got their goal from a set play and an unmarked Mark Gay via a deflection. But in open play, the chances that they've created will worry the manager.
Well, there is the 3 minutes confirmed. Grealish trying to cut inside. Got a couple of Bournemouth players for company and he's forced back to Kovacic. And now Jebbison trying to win the ball off Kusanov, but Kusanov able to get it out to Semenyo. Down the right-hand side. Back to Gehi. Into Cherky, just outside the penalty area. Dancing feet, plays it through. And there, the ball hits the net, but the flag goes up. I thought he was offside. It was Guardiola who got himself into a position. Beautiful little ball through the lines. Typical Cherky stuff, but Guardiola had just strayed too far. He finished it off really calmly and nicely. Will not count though. Remains Manchester City 1, Bournemouth 1.
Cherky's been brilliant since he's come on. So many questions will be asked after this game. He's played a makeshift team when you look at Mark Gay as a holding midfielder, Nico O'Reilly as a number 10. Cherky's been the spark, he's been the one that's looked like creating something. Again, he picks the ball up 25 yards from goal, quick turn on the ball and he slots the ball through to Guardiola. We're just looking at it again, whether James Hill may have played him onside. To me, it looks like his left shoulder or his left half of his body, Guardiola, might have just strayed offside, but his first touch with his right foot is excellent. Brings it across his body and he fires it hard and low into the bottom right-hand corner. I think this is closer than we first thought, you know. The referee stopped the game.
Yeah, it is up on the big screens here at the Etihad, checking disallowed goal, offside. The referee is waiting to hear what is being said and what information that he's being given. And the goal has been given. It was very, very tight, but it was good. And you have to say, what an unlikely source for to finish off a goal and a move like that. Absolutely brilliant movement from Guardiola, and what a pass from Cherky to pick him out. And Manchester City celebrate. They have turned this game around in the final minutes. It is Manchester City 2, Bournemouth 1.
Well, it's a brilliant goal. It really is a brilliant goal, and it's that man Cherky. He's been absolutely superb since he's come on the field. You can only question as to why he hasn't started this game. 25 yards from goal, his footwork is so good. He turns away from 2 Bournemouth defenders and you think the ball's getting away from him, and with the outside of his left boot he just pokes it through the gap in the Bournemouth defence and he finds Guardiola, and his first touch is equally as good as the one that gave him the ball from Cherky. Sets himself up on his right boot and in one movement swivels and knocks it past Petrovic in the Bournemouth goal. And Manchester City look like they've got away with one.
They do indeed. And if Erling Haaland had done what Guardiola has just done, you'd be saying that was wonderful. For it to be your centre back doing it, incredible.
and nobody questioned the decision. It looks like he was offside, and it's only when you saw the slow replay I thought, oh, hang on a minute, that's going to be close, because the stadium didn't question it. People were starting to leave. The Manchester City players had gone back for the offside, and then all of a sudden there was just a quietness, and it come up on the screen, and we just thought, oh, this is going to be close. And finally VAR hasn't robbed us of a brilliant goal.
It was a brilliant goal, and it may well be the match-winning goal for Manchester City. They have left it very, very late, but it looks like once again Bournemouth will be leaving this stadium with nothing. And Marco Rosa still with his hands on his hips, but he's now started to pace back and forward on his technical area as the Manchester City fans rise to their feet and applaud. It's a fickle business, football. They were booing them at half-time.
It could have been a very, very different press conference for Enzo Maresca, 10 minutes ago?
It could indeed, as Jack Grealish holds the ball down towards the corner flag, quite happy to just keep possession, hold on to it, drag a few Bournemouth bodies in around him and see if he can waste some time. But Gannon Doak gets it away, plays it down the line, looking for Jebison, and Diaz is forced to just knock it out of play. And we are well over the 3 minutes have added, but there will still be a minute or so given that VAR check for what looks like the winner here at the Etihad. So can Bournemouth get themselves a point in these dying seconds? It's launched over the shoulder by Gannon Doak, but cleared, and now cleared long, and Haaland will look to keep that in, which he does, and drops it back to Cherries, who has, like Paul Robinson says, just been instrumental to this game turning around since coming on the field of play. He feeds it to Grealish and tries to skip past a couple of Bournemouth players, but that is it. The 90 minutes are done, the whistle is blown, and it is Manchester City who have turned this one around for a big 3 points in Enzo Maresca's first game in charge. And Bournemouth players are down on their haunches. They put so much into this game. They took the lead on the counter-attack. Marcus Tavernier, after a brilliant bit of interplay from Ryan and Evan Nielsen, tapping in the Evan Nielsen cross at the back post, and they defended stoically for the remainder of the game, right up until the 84th minute, when Manchester City levelled through a Mark Gahey header from a corner. And then right at the end, the dancing little feet of Ryan Cherries and the beautiful vision to play the ball through to Guardiola, who controlled it like a centre forward and buried it into the bottom corner to give Manchester City all 3 points. It was a good watch, Paul Robinson.
7 minutes is a long time in football, isn't it? I mean, it could have been extremely different for Enzo Maresca. Listen, let's be honest about the overall performance for Manchester City. Was it fluid? Was it exactly what we would have wanted? No, it wasn't. Were they the better team? Yes, they absolutely were the better team. They dominated the game, and on the balance of possession, they deserved to win the game. But possession, as we know, never wins a football match. The visitors came here with a clear game plan to do what they wanted to do, and they executed that. They were getting pressed back in the second half, and I think the criticism you can have of Marco Rosa was they tried to hold on, and they didn't have anything else, and they were getting deeper and deeper. And for all the lack of chances that Manchester City created in open play, that free header from the corner from Mark Gahey got them back into the game. It gave them belief, and the substitution that he did actually make during the game in Cherries was more than instrumental. It was game changing, and you've got to give them